Hello, FinalDanashi here, and the first thing I'm going to do, usually I just go straight into playing multiplayer games, but I do actually want to get a video out there on how to kind of play this game, because these auto chess games can be a little confusing at first. There's a lot to kind of like absorb all at once, and let's see. The first thing, you got patch notes here, but what I actually wanted... Ishan, thanks for the follow. Rulebook, that probably would help things. So, you do have a how to play section here. I'll tell you the basics of that. Basically, you're picking heroes. So, you can chat as much as you want, I don't care. Do what you want, it's a stream. That's what it's here for. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, go for it. So, let's see. So, you got a bunch of heroes, right? And you see these tiers. You got tier 1, you got the tier 2, tier 3. It's the higher up the tier you go, the more powerful they get. But the other problem is the harder they get. The harder it is to get them, because you have to be a certain character level to get to them. So, basically, you're mostly working with tier 1s, tier 2s, and then maybe a little bit of tier 3s. I'll tell you right off the rip, tier 4s, you might get 1 or 2 of these on your board, and maybe at 1 star if you're very lucky. 2 stars, like 2 stars and extremely lucky. Tier 5s, you might get 1. You might get there to where you get 1 on your side of the board. They do have nice abilities, they are powerful, but you're not going to get them past 1 star rank and all that stuff. Now, I just got done talking about stars 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah. What does that mean? Well, all heroes start out when you first pick them off the shop. They start out at 1 star. That's their base power level. However, as the game progresses, you can re-roll the shop and constantly buy heroes over and over. You can buy this anti-mage many times. I don't know the exact number, but essentially it takes 3 to upgrade it. So if you buy 3 anti-mages, they become a 2 star. But then it gets a little more complicated, because to get it up to a 3 star, you need to have 3 sets of 2 stars. And then that's the hard bit right there. Getting 2 star, usually not a problem. Getting 3 star, okay, now you're going to have to work for it a little bit. But 3 stars are very, very powerful heroes. 3 stars have special effects. They do extra damage. They have a lot more health. They tear 2 stars apart. However, it takes gold to buy heroes. It takes gold to re-roll the shop. It takes gold to level your character, your base level, in order to have more characters on the board and to get access to higher tiers. So you have to balance getting 3 stars with... Oops, I hit my mic. You have to balance getting 3 stars with getting levels. 9, yes, you do have, 9 times makes sense. You have to basically buy the hero. Thank you, Ishan, for that. Yeah, you would have to buy the anti-mage 9 separate times to get anti-mage at 3 star. Now, that's the main bit about heroes. I'm not going to bother going into their abilities or what they do, because all that you kind of learn by playing. This is a basic overall thing. I'm just going to teach you the basics. Now, the second thing you have to worry about are these alliances. As you can see, there's a million of them. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, that's 18. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 separate alliances in this game. I'm just going to go over one here to give you an idea. So, as you can see, there's 6, for this assassin alliance, there's 6 little notches, and they're in 2 separate columns. So if you fill one column out, you get the first bonus. You fill out the second column, you get the second bonus. And the first bonus means all your assassins will get 15% chance to critically hit for 325% damage. On the crit, the target is also wounded, and healing will be reduced by 75% for 3 seconds. So assassins against healer teams of any kind, usually very, very good. You know, it basically directly counters this effect. And if you get up to that second column, you get 6 assassins, there is no more healing, and they're going to start doing damage more often and hit harder. Very, very high damage alliance right here. And you can go down the list, you can go through here, and you can find out what all these do. Again, you kind of learn, you have to take it one step at a time. You kind of learn what they do as you play. Yeah, essentially, yep. Different alliances do different things. Now, here's the bit that adds just that little bit extra in case there's not enough for you there as far as complexity. You have items. Every single hero you can pick, every single one of these can pick and use an item, but they can only have one. Now, you get items once every, I forget how many it is. I think it's once every 5 rounds. If it probably says somewhere around here. Fight for loot. Every few rounds you'll fight for a loot round, blah blah blah. That's whatever. Basically, every so often, every 5-ish rounds, I don't know what it is, you get access to an item. Now, the tiers here do indicate how powerful the item is, but as far as getting access to the tiers, you just have to keep playing in the game. What I mean by that is that as you get deeper into later rounds, it just automatically gives you access to higher tier items. Now, you do get a reroll option, and sometimes you'll get a higher tier item, sometimes you get a lower tier item. But usually, whenever you're at a certain loot round, you're always going to see at least a minimum like tier. Like if you're in round 15, you're at least going to see tier 2s and at least maybe tier 3s. I think you might even get lucky and see a tier 4 at that point, but it might take longer to get to that. I don't know exactly the rounds and the items and the tiers and blah blah blah. Yes, very much on the spot there. Items will help your units get better or have an advantage to your unit you give it to. Now, of course, every item is of course going to do something different. For example, this tier 1 Morbid Mask gives you 30% lifesteal. Just basically means as your unit does damage, a portion of that gets healed onto that character. Now, if I take a tier 2 item here, let me see. Like, here's a vastly different one. This is for range only, so this is actually very specific. And they get plus 35 attack, and they have unlimited range. So typically there's a range to range units of how far they can shoot or something. Either mages or hunter type characters. That makes it so they can shoot across the map if they wanted to. And you got tank items. And then if you go down here to tier 4, tier 4 and tier 5 is where the power level bumps up dramatically. Tier 3 is okay, but tier 4 and tier 5, especially tier 5, is where most of the power is going to be found. This butterfly, plus 35 attack and speed and evasion. Very, very nice. An item that I've been really picking. I love this item. Every time it shows up, I pick it immediately. I don't re-roll. This is like my top tier 1 item of all the items right now. Radiance. Every enemy within 2 cells will burn. And they have a chance to miss their attacks. So it gives your character and all surrounding characters within Radiance's field inherent evasion chance, and they're taking damage while being surrounded by a character that hopefully you stuck it on a 3-star hero that is very tanky and is just burning everything alive. That's what I've been doing with that. But there's tons of items, and every character will use that item to different levels of effectiveness. So you again, another level of complexity if there wasn't enough already. One more thing. There are 4 Underlords in the game. You get access to them, and let's say, what did you say? It also depends on what you put it onto. Yes, again, if you have an item that silences a unit but has a passive skill, then the silence doesn't really affect them. They only get the plus from the item, the positive. They don't get the negative of being silenced. Because there are heroes in the game that only have passive abilities. Well, them being silenced doesn't affect them because the passive is activated already. They don't have to cast it. So you are correct. That is synergies like that is what you have to look out for. So, Underlords section. I forget what round you get access to them. Everybody gets access to these at the exact same time. It's around round 10 or 15, something like that. You get access to one of these 4 Underlords. On top of that, every game they have a different specialty. What I mean by that is Joel sometimes focuses on buffing units. Sometimes he focuses on healing units. Slight variations on how they might appear. So again, another level of complexity, another level of RNG you have to worry about. Now you might be thinking, oh my god, you're telling me I have to worry about heroes that all have different alliances, that all give different buffs and disadvantages, and I have to worry about items, and I have to worry about Underlords. Relax. It's something that you get used to over time. If you play, you put some time into it, you start to pick up on certain things. It's not as bad as it looks. Just a quick overview on what the overarching job is. Joe is typically a tank-like character. If you have a bunch of damage dealers, if you have a bunch of mages or very low HP characters typically but high DPS, Joe is typically what you're going for. Hobgen, or Hobgen? I don't know how to say that character's name. Very high damage dealer. If you have beefy characters, very tanky characters, and you just want raw DPS, that's your Underlord right there. Anno and Annexus, Annexix. I have a hard time with names in general, and that's just a hard name to pronounce. These are both more finesse, different, very specialty kind of characters. Let's say you have those tanky characters I talked about earlier with Hobgen. Maybe what you want to do is buff your characters and debuff the enemy heroes. And maybe you have a specialty with summoned units. This is your Underlord right here. Because they will summon other minions. They will sometimes turn enemies into demons that fight for you when they die. Very, very good if you have the right setup. Enno, kind of the same thing. Enno is kind of a trickster, kind of bouncing all over the place kind of character. If you have high evasion characters, if you have Enno will sometimes be healing as well. If you have tanky characters, that kind of works as well. Enno's specialty is this little rascal will steal items from the enemy. Now, he goes based on tier. Enno will steal the lowest tier first before stealing higher tier items. But if all they have left on their side of the field is a character with a high tier item, he's going to take that. This little rascal will take a tier 5 item if that's all that's available. And that can be a big swing in a battle. So these two are more straightforward a little bit compared to these two, which are a little bit more finesse, a little bit more special circumstance. Your favorite's Enno? Enno is kind of like my... I don't get to pick Enno based on my picks too often, but when I can, I think it might work even a little bit, I will pick Enno because... That's fun. That's a fun little character right there. So that's the overarching view that we're looking at. There's a lot here. Oh, and yes, of course there's statuses. You know, like we talked about earlier. Silence, they can't cast spells, they can't cast abilities. The one last thing I'll talk about is just in general what kind of units you can be looking for. You have tanky, beefy characters, high HP, typically lower damage. But as you get them up to 3-star, their damage can skyrocket up, especially with the right item equipped. So you don't necessarily have to go Assassin to get DPS. There are, like Snapfire, you get Snapfire to 3-star, and you get this Dragon Alliance activated, Snapfire will burn people alive. So just something to keep in mind there. You have melee characters like Assassins. And then you have ranged characters like these Hunter, Anti-Mage. Although Anti-Mage is actually a melee character, but they count as a Hunter, even though it has a bow symbol. That's kind of odd. But Drow Ranger is more of the typical Hunter range character right there. And then you have Mages, you know, ranged magical attack creatures. And then you have something that's a little bit less defined. You got Demons, and you have like fallen, like spirits, and they're kind of a little wonky. You even have like shamans and all that stuff. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of cool characters, and as you play, you get to know them a little bit more and what their specialties are, who they work best with, that stuff. By the way, if you go Assassin, you're getting Slark. I'm just saying. Tier 3, Slark, amazing. If you can get Slark to 2-star, and you get any kind of speed buff, like if you get the Slark with the, where is it? The butterfly here, attack speed, evasion, watch out. Slark will slay heroes. Why? Passive. Increases damage and attack speed with each attack. So as the fight goes on, he will start going nuts. This little fish right here starts out hack, hack, hack. By the end of the match, if Slark's alive, This is what he's doing. So I'm just saying, there's little things like that you pick up on, like these little special characters that if you get the right combination, the right item, the right situation, they will roll over the enemy team, sometimes by themselves. There was one match I had where Slark had a lifesteal item, and he literally killed 3 or 4 heroes when he was the last one alive, just because he could heal himself that much towards the end of the match. It was that bonkers. Mom or Satanic on Slark is Pog. I know what you're talking about with Satanic. Plus health, when they're at a certain health, you get lifesteal. Very, very nice if you get access to that. Which one is the mom item that you're talking about, though? Mask of Madness. Yes, I think that's this one. They are silenced, but against Slark is a passive hero, so that's means nothing to Slark. The lifesteal and attack speed. Very, very good item. You are very much correct. After that, I mean, you can watch my other videos to see how the games are played, but that's the overall gist of it. It's you're not actually fighting. You don't actually activate the heroes. They fight themselves. Your main job is to rank them up, to level yourself up to get more heroes on the board, and to equip them the correct items and put them in a formation that makes sense. There's a lot in this game. It does have a bit of a learning curve to kind of get used to it, but the nice thing is when you start out ranked, you start out at the bottom rank, so you're with other people that are actually learning as well. So, and they do have a training mode. I think they might even make you play training mode or casual mode before doing ranked or something. I don't know. So this is a free-to-play game. You can get into it. I've been enjoying it. I've been ranking up. I'm currently at Outlaw 3. I'm not entirely sure how far it goes up, but there was a rank before this. It was something. Started with a G. And I've been ranking up okay. So that's all I got for this. I'm going to keep streaming this. I'm going to keep playing. I'll upload the video right after this so you can come right back and watch what I do. So hopefully it taught you a little bit more about the game and you'll see some action if you keep watching the video. So, all right. I'll see you there.